And can someone monitor the wait room, because and admit people if anyone continues to show up?
I can do that.
Thank you. Okay, welcome to the 2022 Housing Finance Program RFP question and answer session. I am going to share my screen, and for people who just joined, I will say that we are recording this session. Share my screen. Where is the button on Zoom to share screen? Oh, there. Okay, can everyone see this screen?
It hasn't loaded yet for me.
Did it load?
No.
Share screen, this screen. Oh, I think I had to hit another button.
Yeah, it's coming on now, Tina.
Okay.
Yep.
More buttons on Zoom than okay. So welcome to the Housing Finance Program RFP question and answer session. We're going to keep the presentation short today. The purpose of today's meeting is to provide information about the Housing Finance Program's 2022 funding round, including applicant eligibility, funding priorities, and funding availability. And most of the time today will be to hear and respond to questions from potential applicants. And all questions and answers will be posted as an addendum in the RFP and Zoom grants. Wanted to start with introductions, and then we'll do an RFP overview. And as I said, about 45 minutes of this time will be spent in questions and answers. So introductions, I'm Tina Ilvanen, Housing Finance Program Manager. I'm going to introduce my team and King County employees. And I'll start with Sean Hardgrove.
Good morning, I'm Sean Hargrove. I'm a project manager in the Housing Finance Program.
And Michelle Lambert.
Hi, Michelle Lambert, Housing Finance Program Manager, Home Ownership Division.
And Kristen.
Hi, everyone. Kristen Pula, Capital Programs Manager.
And I'll say Joanna next.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Joanna Armstrong, and I'm contracting and procurement support for this program.
And Anna.
Hi, everyone. Anna Strahan, she, her pronouns, and I am a services and operating lead for permanent housing on our HHP team and coordinate with HFP on funding pre-commitments.
Okay, and Dave.
All right, everyone. My name is Dave Mecklenburg. I am a project manager with the Community Development Program, helping out with environmental reviews for housing finance.
So thank you for being here. All of us will assist in answering questions. I'm just going to go through the PowerPoint first. And thanks to everyone for being here. Okay, introductions. So I just said that we have people from Anna from the homeless housing team and Dave from Community Development Program, and the rest of us are all from Housing Finance Program. And we have Joanna instead of Andrea in the contracts and procurement section. So the RFP went out a few days ago, and hopefully everyone's had a chance to read it. One thing that is new and different this year is the prioritized review context within the RFP. And we did that because there's been unprecedented industry-wide increases in material and labor costs. We have a lot of budget adjustments, requests that we are reviewing right now, and Housing Finance Program has one budget. And our budget needs to address those issues in previously awarded projects. And then we are also, offering the remainder of the fund sources up to $25,855,000 in this RFP. And I will say that I'm going to do this short presentation and then maybe hold your questions until the end. So the prioritized review criteria is that the county is going to review the projects that meet at least one of these three criteria first. And then applications not meeting those criteria will be retained for a possible second review if fund sources are available after our prioritized review. So the projects that we'll be reviewing first are projects that have received King County awards from a prior HFP capital round, projects that have received transit-oriented development budget allocations, which aren't fully funded. Also transit-oriented development projects in North or East King County, and TOD projects that are being developed at King County Sound Transit or Metro stations. And then our third criteria for prioritized review is a multi-priority projects that are homeownership projects serving veterans, permanent supportive housing projects serving homeless populations. And then the third one is projects accessible to all four of the home ARP qualifying populations as defined in the home ARP notice. And they need to be accessible to all four of the home ARP qualifying populations, but they don't necessarily need to serve all four of the home ARP qualifying populations. So if people have a question on that, we can definitely go into detail on that. The other requirement is the applicants must have attended a pre-application meeting prior to July 20th in order to be able to apply. We have a variety of fund sources available this funding round. We have mid funds, which are for households with behavioral health conditions. We have regional affordable housing program funds in the amount of approximately 2.8 million. That fund source is divided into geographic targets. So not all 2.8 million is available for all of King County. Check the RFP to see what those divisions are. It's about a third for Seattle, Northeast, and South King County. The home funds that we have are available for homeownership and rental projects and not available in the city of Seattle because they have their own home allocation. Part of the home funds are available for CHODOs only. The transit-oriented development funds are approximately 12.7 million, which includes a $10 million set aside for projects in the Bell Red corridor. The VSHSL funds are approximately 3.6 million, including 2.3 million for veterans and 1.3 million specifically for homeownership. And look at the RFP, the homeownership is split between some that's specifically for veterans and some that's specifically for vulnerable populations. This is all detailed in more detail in the RFP. The document recording fee, we have approximately $800,000. And then the new fund sources that you may not have seen previously are home ARP funds. We have 1.1 million available. That's the American Rescue Plan funds from HUD. This fund source can be used for rental housing projects that primarily benefit individuals and families within 4 qualifying populations. Those populations are homeless, at risk of homeless, victims of dating violence and domestic violence, sexual assault and human trafficking, and other populations, including families, including other families requiring services or housing assistance to prevent homelessness or those at greatest risk of housing instability. And I'll just say on the home ARP funds, that's the funding availability, but the prioritized review is for projects that are serving. So in order to meet the prioritized review, the project must be accessible to all 4 of the home ARP qualifying populations. So just wanted to mention that distinction. And then our green building zero energy funds, we have 368,000 available in that fund source. And that's for projects that are either installing green building elements or systems beyond code requirements, and projects that are designed to achieve zero energy. We also have vouchers and ORS support available this funding round. We have up to 50 KCHA vouchers for projects outside of Seattle and outside of Renton. KCHA, the minimum per project is 35 vouchers, 35 vouchers in a site-based PSH. And there's more detail on that in the RFP. We also have operating rental and support services available this funding round. And then our priorities are, so we have the prioritized review of those projects we're looking at first. When we're looking at those projects, we are looking at them in conjunction with the priorities for the funding round and the evaluation criteria for the funding round. So the priorities this funding round are system connected housing, transit oriented development, homeless and extremely low income housing, homeownership development, particularly projects that expand the capacity of homeownership opportunities to veterans and vulnerable populations. And our other 2 priorities are equitable driven community development, which are projects developed by and in collaboration with communities facing displacement pressures and communities that have historically experienced policies that limit opportunities for people of color. And the green building zero energy priority is for projects that advance the county's climate equity goals by using green building elements or getting to zero energy. And competitive projects under this priority will have deep community collaboration and support career pathways for BIPOC communities. And then the timeline is, if you have other questions after today, you can submit them through Wednesday. Answers will be posted on Friday. Applications are due on September 16th in Zoom grants. The Zoom grants submittal link, everyone should have that in the RFP. The USB drive is due the Monday after the Friday when the applications are due, just to give you a little bit of time to get that in the mail. But don't forget to get that in the mail. And then application clarifications, interviews begin on November 1st. And award notices or notices that you weren't successful will be in December, by December 30th. I'm hoping to do it by Christmas, but gave myself to the 30th. Then the application materials are different, whether you're submitting a multifamily or a homeownership project. Both projects use the combined funders application. They're just slightly different if it's a rental or a homeownership. So there's the table of contents and the self-certification. the combined funders sections, the forms, and the supplemental questions and the geography spreadsheet for both. And then don't forget the USB. And then this is just information on how to label the USB so that it matches the table of contents, so that we can, when we download your information in the USB, when we download it, it's actually has a number on it like this 2.4 or 2.9, so we can take those items and make sure they're in the right sections. So please number those in the USB and in Zoom grants. And then the remainder of this meeting is dedicated to answering questions you may have. So please introduce yourself before asking any questions so that we know who you are. And please don't be shy. You can raise your hand or put a question in chat and we will answer. Does anyone want to start with a question? Ooh, maybe I should unmute everyone. Can anyone unmute themselves?
I'm testing that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you,
Okay.
Kristen.
I unmuted myself. So yes, everyone, please shout out your questions or put them in the chat.
Yeah, Julie, it looked like you were trying to unmute yourself. Do you have a question? Alan, do you have a question?
Sure, I'll throw out one. So I just wanted to confirm, so the number 2 criteria is TOD. Is that TOD just for the TOD funds, or is that for any funds?
It's for any funds. I
Okay.
mean, we would most likely award TOD funds to TOD projects, but TOD projects can be awarded other source of funds. For example, you know, really any source of funds. If your TOD project is prioritizing veterans, then you would be eligible for the VSHSL funding as well. But this prioritized review criteria is for TOD projects in North or East King County, because that is a fund source that we have available this funding round, that has been sitting around since 2016, and TOD projects that are being developed at King County Sound Transit or metro stations. So yes, we'll be looking at those TOD projects first because they meet our prioritized review criteria, and then if they meet the priorities of the fund round and they, you know, do well on our evaluation criteria, we would look at recommending funds for that. And so that's the plan, is going through and looking at all the projects that meet this prioritized review criteria, seeing what it looks like on our funding. And then we would look at the second set of projects with any funds that we have left over.
Great. And then just to confirm also, the 3 prioritized review criteria, they're not in ranking order. It's just there's 3 and they basically have equal weight.
Correct. There's 3 that have equal weight, so we'll look at all of these projects first. As if they, as if they were our projects that we received the funding round.
Great, thank you.
And Tina, there's a question in the chat from Eric that says, if we need to make any changes to the Excel forms, do we still need to contact Sean Harrington at Department of Commerce?
Yes. Is it a global problem?
No, it's not. It's in the past I've had, there's a few items sometimes where we need to make some slight modifications. I just wanted to make sure. I do know he's sensitive to getting requests last minute, so I just want to make sure I get ahead of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because most of the tabs are locked.
Yes.
And if he's not available, I could probably help you. So if you don't get a response from him, but you would need to reach out to our procurement specialist at the email, the DCHS contracts email.
Great. Okay.
So if he's unable to assist, please let us know, and I have the password to unlock it also.
Great, thank you. I also have another question. If how strict are you folks with the dates on prior reports? So, for example, I'm borderline on some of the reports, and the last RFP I did for King County was a few years ago. So I may be a little bit over on some of the dates, and I do see that they have to be 12 months or under that. So is there any, I guess I'm concerned, right? I don't know that I'll be able to get some of the reports re-upped by the time I submit the application. So how strict is that 12 months?
I think it depends on the report, and if you're planning to get an update for another application at a later time, if you have a timeline when you're planning to update it, I would put that in the notes for that report. I don't know what your report you're talking about, but I think that we can.
Yeah, we update these all these times. So yes, okay, I will include that information. I think some are in the process. I just might not have them by the time I apply. So I will make note of that on the application. And thanks for the flexibility.
It looks like Allison has her hand up. Go ahead, Allison.
Yeah, thanks. And just a question regarding the vouchers from King County. I understand there's the 35 restriction on the 50 that you have available. Depending on utilization of those vouchers, would there be an opportunity to see if there was a smaller allocation that was approvable?
That from KJ, that's the requirement that based PSH serve or have a minimum of 35 vouchers per project. So I don't think there's a way to revise that.
Okay, thank you.
Allison, do you have another question?
Thank you. Eric just pointed out I was muted. I did have a question regarding questions in general. Is Wednesday the limit for all questions? I know I was on vacation part of last week, so I haven't been able to dig fully through the application.
I actually think that if you email DCHS contracts at any time with any questions, we would answer it.
Perfect.
I mean, it's hopefully the limit of, you know, the initial questions on how to, you know, they're going to be published first question and answer session. But I think if you have a question as you're going through, that you can email and that we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, through the email that's in the RFP. There's the chat. Oh. Eric, can we go back to your question on, you know, if certain reports aren't,
Yes.
can you tell me what reports you were thinking about? Just,
I have some of the environmental that were done about a year ago when we applied for the Office of Housing. And so they're kind of borderline, right? So I got them roughly about a year now. And so there'll be about maybe 15 days, 20 days expired. I think the same with our appraisal. I'm getting our appraisal updated now, but there's a backlog of that. And so there's a possibility I might not have it before the date of the submission.
okay, so yeah, so reports that are old, that are expiring and you're in process of updating them, that's fine to submit one that, you know, maybe a month old, a month expired, and you're in process of submitting, or in process of updating. If it's a little bit late, we can review the update
Great.
as soon as it's available. But please let us know on your table of contents that you are updating it and when it will be available.
Okay, that works. Thank you.
Mhm. Julie?
Hi, this is Julie. Sorry, my internet's a little unstable, so I may go out. I apologize in advance. So I have a question about kind of the trend in, you know, last year the RFP came out like end of July or so, and this year it's you know, in first week of August. Is this kind of the new normal? Like, should we expect to be putting together applications pretty quickly for King County going forward?
I hope not. I hope to be able to get it out earlier next year. That was the plan this year, and it took a long time to get through all pre-application meetings, and it took a long time to put the RFP together with all the various reviews that it needed to go through. I also, because it's the same combined funders application, I was hoping that you know, it's the same, it's that same application for all the public funders. So I'm hoping that you've started on your applications for commerce or city. And that really the only thing that's new and different for King County is our supplemental questions.
Great, thank you.
And I am going to try to get it out earlier next year. But the due date is around the same time that it's due for commerce. So I was hoping that wouldn't be difficult for the developers. Does it cause difficulty that we got this out late, Julie?
I think because King County uses the Zoom grants portal, sometimes it's a little more complicated to do the uploads. It's not significantly more difficult because we are applying for different funding, like you mentioned, but it is nice to, I think we just like to be able to anticipate what the RFP is going to contain. And so it's a little, we're kind of on the edge of our seat prior to release.
And I think, Julie, as you're well aware, you know, just all the project gaps that we've been seeing, we're trying to figure out our pathway on those as much as we could before going out with the RFP. So it's been a little bit of a different environment this year and last year because of all of those project gaps and trying to really figure out, you know, how to address those and also put our money out for new projects and be as clear as we can about what sources are available so that you all are, you know, putting your best applications in.
Thanks. It's good to know that this isn't the intent going forward.
Yeah, it's not the intent. It's really just based on these circumstances. So it should be mid to late July typically. Are there any other questions about the this prioritized review criteria? Are you all feeling like you're understanding that, or do you have any more questions? I know we've had a couple on that, but is there anything else there that would be helpful for you all to understand?
This is Ginger. I looked up the home ARP, the home ARP qualifying populations, but could you, so you're very clear that it just has to be access, that you can't, that those people have to be welcome and there can't be screening criteria that prevent them.
That's correct. You just have to be, the project has to be accessible to all four. It does not have to end up serving all four. So as long as you're not excluding any of those four populations from applying or from being referred for application to the project, then you would be okay to be considered for that funding.
Okay. And so once you get through that first screen, so you don't, if you meet one of those qualifications, then those are considered first. And then you go to your priorities. Is that
yes, the priorities and the evaluation criteria?
And if you don't meet one of these three, then you get considered second, and then you go on to the priorities.
Correct.
Correct.
So if we go through with projects that meet any of these three, and we go through them all, and there's funds available after that, then we'll do the second round.
And in addition, additional funds may come into the RFP in October, November, when the budget is approved by King County Council. There may be additional fund source availability in any of these fund sources. I'm not exactly sure what what amounts or what fund sources may come in as a result of the King County budget approvals, but that's another reason why we're doing this prioritized review, because we may have fund sources come in October and November. So then that would also begin our, our second review of the projects.
Okay, so the 26 million, that is after gap funding, or is gap funding coming out of the 26 million?
The gap funding would be coming out of that 26 million.
And do you have a sense of what the universe of projects are that need gap funding and what amount?
I do. I do. I'm still working on what exactly the amount is, because I'm working with other public funders as well, but it may be between 5 and 15 million.
Okay, so there'll be at least 10 or 11 million in this pot, or actually more, at least like 13 million in this pot, and maybe more, like for new projects.
It really depends on, it really depends on all the projects that have budget gaps right now, what they're doing to reduce their budget gaps, and what the other public funders are coming in at to assist, value engineering. And so I have a wide margin of where it could be, and it really just depends on those projects which we're looking at individually.
I guess one more question. So at one time, I think people call it the VSHISA, the veteran, the King County money for veterans and special needs populations. Is that limited to 50,000 per unit for multifamily?
That is the metric. It's a standard 50,000, a 50,000 award for one unit of population. So, if you had 5 veterans units, then you would be eligible for up to 250,000 of the VSHSL funds.
Okay, so that is, we should not ask for more than 50,000 of that source for those eligible population.
You don't ask us for a source
I see.
in the application. You tell us who you're planning to serve, how many units you're planning to serve with each population, and we would award a fund source that meets what your application states you're planning to do.
Okay, great, thanks.
And Ginger, just one more thing on your line of questioning there. I just want to make sure you followed that in the TOD bucket, 10 million of those funds are for one geographic area for the Bell Red corridor. So just given the questions you're asking, I wanted to make sure that you heard that.
So you're saying that's money that would not necessarily go towards gaps? Or how does that relate to?
It's just that it's 10 million. So we have the 25, almost 26 million available. 10 million of those funds is targeted just toward that one geography of Bell Red. So if you're applying for a project that's not in the Bell Red corridor, there's 10 million off the table already. I just want to make sure you followed that.
Yeah, no, I see that, but I guess you can't tell where the gap projects are from this chart.
That's right. You can't. And that's because, as Tina said, we're still in the process of working with other public funders and trying to really land on that. So it is an uncertainty that we have right now. And so you all also have that uncertainty of not knowing exactly how much we have available after we've solved for the gaps that we currently have. And that's a challenge we acknowledge.
Mhm.
Does anyone else have questions, clarifications? We are going to post the questions and answers on the RFP on Zoom Grants on Friday.
Any final questions before we wrap up? And we do encourage you all to continue looking at the materials. And as Tina said, send your questions to the DCHS contracts email that you have if you come across other questions. And Joanna, just put that email in the chat. Thanks, Joanna.
Oh, I guess we changed the time of the meeting. That's funny.
Okay, anything else? I guess we can wrap up if there's no other questions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.